Good evening. That's the big story of the day. The Supertech Twin Towers in Noida have been brought down today in a massive series of controlled explosions. The blast lasted about 9 seconds and capped a 9-year legal battle between residents of the Supertech Emerald Court. That's a residential colony in Sector 93A in Noida on the outskirts of Delhi, and the realtor, Supertech, over the two towers. The allegation which was made was that this was illegally constructed in violation of norms. It involved illegal practices by the Noida authority as well. The case went up to the Supreme Court, which made the point that if there was an illegality, the towers had to go, and they have gone today after a battle lasting 9 years. The next challenge for authorities now is to clean the mountain of debris, 55,000 tons generated because of the demolition. Officials involved say that this is a period of 3 months that could actually take place. Fortunately, despite those dust clouds that you see, the air quality index didn't go up appreciably. That's what the Noida CEO has had to say earlier on today. Nobody has been hurt. There's not been any damage outside the area where the debris fell. This is the largest or the tallest series of buildings in India to have been brought down in this manner. 7,000 residents of the area were moved out. Gas and power supply was cut. People have now been allowed to return to their homes, and services are being restored.
जिम्मेदारी को पूरा किया।
डेमोलिशन रहा कैसा रहा, क्या आपके तरीके से देखा जाए तो सक्सेसफुल रहा?
100% सक्सेसफुल।
100%।
कितनी देर लगी सर? जैसे कह रहे थे 9 से 12 मिनट।
द सेम टाइम 9 सेकंड में बिल्डिंग पूरी क्रैश करी।
अच्छा 9 सेकंड में, मतलब अब लग रहा है कि जो सोचा था वो कर पाए।
बिल्कुल जो हमारी प्रेडिक्शन थी 100% सक्सेसफुल हुई है और 100% पास हुई है।
देखिए लार्जली जो पूरी एक्सरसाइज है एज पर प्लान्स थी और उसका एग्जीक्यूशन बिल्कुल एज पर प्लान हुआ है। बाकी अभी एक्सपर्ट टीम्स जो है वो मौके पे हैं, वो असेसमेंट कर रहे हैं। हम लोग भी अब उधर ही जा रहे हैं। उनका असेसमेंट के बाद जो है आपको फिर अपडेट देंगे।
क्या डेब्रिस सर अंदर तक घुसी है? क्या जो
ये एक्सपर्ट जो मौके पर हैं वही बता पाएंगे। अभी यहाँ से जो अभी तक पता चला है कि लार्जली इट इज एज पर द प्लान्स।
सभी के सहयोग से सक्सेसफुली आज ये अराउंड 230 पे डेमोलिशन जो प्लान हुआ था वो सक्सेसफुली एग्जीक्यूट हो गया है। जो फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड लेवल ऑफ क्लियरेंसेस थे एजेंसी के द्वारा वो दे दिए गए। उसी के क्रम में हमारा क्लीनिंग का काम जो है वो शुरू हो गया है और जो सप्लाईज रिस्टोरेशन है वो भी 15-20 मिनट में एजेंसीज आ जाएंगी और वो अपना काम शुरू कर देंगी। AQI जिसका सबसे ज़्यादा रेजिडेंट्स में पैनिक था, उसको हम लोग 20 मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशंस जो ITMS के थ्रू हमने लगाए थे उनसे लाइव मॉनिटर कर रहे थे और उनका डेटा हर घंटे का हम लोग रिकॉर्ड कर रहे थे, जो अभी हम मीडिया में भी रिलीज करेंगे।
हमारे साथ मयूर मेहता है। मयूर, आज आप मैन ऑफ इंडिया हैं क्योंकि आपने ये सक्सेसफुल डेमोलिशन किया। इतना डेमोलिशन हुआ नहीं, तो पहले तो आपको बहुत बहुत मुबारकबाद। क्या कहना चाहेंगे? सब कुछ प्लान के मुताबिक गया?
आई एम अ स्मॉल मैन ऑफ अ वेरी स्मॉल कंपनी। आई एम नॉट अ बिग मैन, सो प्लीज डोंट डू दैट।
इंसान को काम बड़ा बनाता है।
आज ये बिल्डिंग जैसे सोचा गया था वैसे डिमोलिशन हुआ है, तो हम लोग उसके लिए 100% बोल सकते हैं और बहुत खुश भी हैं।
क्या कुछ डेमोलिशन में आसपास ATS या सुपरटेक एमरल्ड है उसमें कुछ डैमेज हुआ है जो पता चला आपको?
ATS विलेज में 10 मीटर बाउंड्री टूटी है, जो एस्टिमेटेड था। हमने उनको पहले से एडवांस में आगाह भी किया था और कुछ शीशे टूटने थे। एमरल्ड में कोई भी लॉस नहीं है। हाँ, अभी चेक करना बाकी है कि शीशे, क्योंकि सबकी खिड़कियाँ बंद है, रेसिडेंस ओनर है नहीं अंदर, तो ये थोड़ी देर में समझ में आ जाएगा। जब रेसिडेंट्स अंदर आएंगे तो कुछ शीशे टूटे होंगे तो रिप्लेस कर दिए जाएंगे।
वो आप करेंगे। जब आप एक्सप्लोजन कर रहे थे, आप लोग 6 लोग थे टोटल, उस वक्त धूल का था कि धूल कितना वक्त लगेगा? और धूल लग रहा था 15 से 20 मिनट जो आपका एस्टिमेट था उसमें सेटल होने लग गई थी, विजिबिलिटी आ गई थी। आपको कब दिखना शुरू हुआ स्ट्रक्चर, क्योंकि आप 100 मीटर दूर थे?
हम लोग 3 से 4 मिनट के बाद अंदर घुस गए थे। थोड़ा धुंधलापन था, लेकिन डस्ट आगे बढ़ रही थी, तो हमको पहले चेक करना था कि भाई सब जो प्लान के हिसाब से था वो था क्या नहीं। इसके लिए हम लोग एडवांस में 5 मिनट बाद तुरंत अंदर के चले गए थे और हमको जो एस्टिमेट था कि ATS बाउंड्री का वो एक हुआ और थोड़े कुछ शीशे टूटे हैं।
आखिरी सवाल आपसे, तो अभी कब यहाँ जो लोग रहते हैं ATS और सुपरटेक एमरल्ड के अपने घर वापस आ पाएंगे?
5:30-6 बजे के बाद सब आ सकते हैं वापस, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। वो लोग को खुद अपने से भी साफ सफाई, और आप भी देख रहे हैं कि नोएडा अथॉरिटी ने कितना शानदार बंदोबस्त और इंतजाम किए हैं साफ सफाई के लिए, ये आपके सामने है।
Well, we have with us a man of the moment. This is Joe Brinkman. He is the managing director of Jet Demolition. Your day went off as expected, better off than expected. How are you feeling right now with the events of the day?
Yes, it went off as expected. Our main objective was to get the buildings down and not cause structural damage to anything around it, and we've achieved that.
Joe, how was this different, or if more challenging or less challenging than other demolitions you worked on in the past? Is there anything unique about this landscape,
Well, the unique feature here was the extreme robust nature of the construction of this building. It's built to withstand a Category 5 earthquake and extremely strong. Shear walls, which are difficult to blast anyway, and these were full of steel reinforcement, extremely resistant to blasting.
And the fact that it's surrounded just nine meters away with other residential
all the
buildings?
environment around it. We had all of the flats 9 meters away to the north, so we had to make sure we didn't have any spill back onto those flats, and that worked out very nicely according to plan.
And could you explain to us, we've been hearing so much about the waterfall implosion. Why, how does that work, and why a waterfall?
I'm not sure why that term has taken hold, but basically what happens during this event is that you don't blast everything at once and then the whole building sits down with a thump. This is happening in a sequential collapse mode. So you'll start at one end of the building and the blast will work its way through and the building will collapse, and it looks a bit like a waterfall moving through the building, right? So what you want to do is make sure that you get the building to behave the way you want it to in terms of which way it's collapsing, how it's going down to the ground. And then you also want to spread out the impact over time. You don't want one big thud. You want to have a stream of particles hitting the ground over a period of time.
And what happens now that the demolition is done? What do we need to watch out for in terms of, the dust, the debris, the environmental pollution, the air pollution? Does it affect the water table? What are the next steps one needs to take care of in your experience with working with demolition?
What they will need to do is control the dust on site with water sprays. And the dust is a nuisance, but it's not a huge health hazard. You're not there taking in massive quantities of dust. You allay the dust, you keep the small particles down. And so really pollution, there is nothing. It's all natural materials from the earth, which are going to be recycled and put back either to the earth or used in new projects.
So you would advise residents in the Emerald structures to go back tonight and sleep there if they have to, spend the night there?
Yes, of course.
With their children, etc.?
Yes, of course, yeah.
All right. Joe Brinkman, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Right now we're standing right outside the demolition site of the Supertech Twin Towers, and this pile of debris that you're seeing right now is what is left of that 100-meter tall Twin Tower. The Supertech Twin Tower was brought down by Edifice Engineering and Jet Demolition in a waterfall demolition of that massive structure. And it came down within 9 seconds. It was a 9-year-long legal battle of the residents of ATS Village, that is on my right hand side, and of the residents of the Emerald Supertech Society, that is on my left hand side. Now the question is, why was it allowed to happen? Why was it allowed to be built here? That is the big question that's being raised right now. And if the Noida authority would have intervened at the right time, this structure that was also symbol of illegal nexus between corrupt officials and builders, it would have never been allowed to be built here, and it would not have taken about 9 years long of legal battle as far as bringing down the structure is concerned, as far as stopping the construction is concerned. The residents of ATS Village and the residents of Supertech Emerald were sold a dream that this entire area where the Twin Towers stood will be a park. This will be an open space for the residents. The residents were told that you can come down anytime. It will be a garden for all of these people who are buying the flats here. But then after these people came here, after these flats were sold on my right and my left hand side, the Supertech builders decided to build a Twin Towers here and build about 850 flats that were there in the Twin Tower that was demolished today. In fact, about 3,700 kilograms of debris was used, explosives were used as far as the explosion is concerned, as far as the demolition is concerned. And this debris, this huge debris that you're seeing in front of your eyes is a whooping 80,000 ton worth of debris, and there is about 4,000 tons worth of iron in this debris. So now the gigantic task in front of the Noida authority is to clear the debris. However, majority of it, in fact 50,000 tons to 55,000 tons, will be used in leveling up the basement. About 30,000 tons of debris will have to be removed from here. It will be weeded out, some of it will be recycled, the rest of it will be sent to the dumping grounds.
The fate of the Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren continues to raise the political temperatures in the state. His colleague and former Minister Bhanu Pratap Sahi demanded Hemant Soren's resignation ahead of any formal declaration of his possible disqualification by as an MLA by the governor. Meanwhile, the Election Commission is believed to have recommended the disqualification of Mr. Soren as a legislator in connection with a mining lease case. The Congress party, meanwhile, says that they want a decision one way or the other as far as the governor is concerned. They don't want a repeat of the situation in Maharashtra.
ऐसे मामले में आज तक कभी किसी की सदस्यता रद्द नहीं हुआ, तो फिर ये हमारा जो लोकप्रिय मुख्यमंत्री है हेमंत सोरेन जी, इसके साथ संवैधानिक संस्थाओं का दुरुपयोग कर इस झारखंड प्रदेश जो फुल बहुमत सरकार गठबंधन की, आज झारखंड की जनता के बीच में ये आजादी स्थिति पैदा, इसमें आज कोई कारण स्पष्ट नहीं हो सकता.
Well, Saurabh Gupta has been tracking the story and joins us now. Saurabh, how precarious is the position that Mr. Soren finds himself in now presently, and what does that mean for the JMM-Congress alliance in Jharkhand?
Well, Mr. Soren's position as MLA is definitely on shaky ground, given the fact that, the sources that we've been speaking to say that the Election Commission has recommended his disqualification to the governor. The governor has, of course, not commented on this. Neither has he taken a decision on the matter, even with very clear indications and days of reportage that he has indeed received the recommendations of the Election Commission. Now, in terms of the government, the numbers are clear at this point. The numbers don't seem to be a problem for Mr. Soren. But in the case that he steps down, then there is going to be a certain amount of instability. And that instability is the time period where, there may be MLAs who may be poached. That's what the Congress and the other partners of the alliance are referring to. They want the governor to act immediately, take a decision immediately. They say that whatever our response is, one way or the other, you have to take a decision. You cannot let this tamasha, they use the word, continue, where people just believe that he's going to be disqualified. The work of the government is hampered. They want a decision, they say. Now, interestingly, Vishnu, there's also, another member of the family who's also an MLA, Basant Soren, who has also a hearing in the Election Commission tomorrow. And that is also important to note, given the fact that, that is not a very similar case, but, around the same issue. So this is going to be an acid test for Hemant Soren as to whether he can not only save his seat, but keep his flock together. And that's what, the Congress has also been hinting at. We are firmly with Chief Minister, but let's have a decision as soon as possible. That's what they've appealed to the governor through a press conference, so they've not officially gone to him. One expects that there will be a delegation to the governor also soon.
Saurabh, thanks very much for sharing those details with us. Thanks very much indeed. That political situation in Jharkhand, the ruling coalition somewhat in a precarious position. The election for the Congress president's post will be held. The date is now final on the 17th of October. Counting will be held 2 days later on the 19th of October. The Congress Working Committee met today to decide on the schedule of dates for the election of the next party president. A silent protest was held at Carter Road in Bandra in Mumbai, demanding that the 11 convicts who were released, granted remission in the Bilkis Bano case, be jailed once again. These silent protests against the release of the rape convicts, they've demanded justice in this case. They say that this remission should be withdrawn. They've demanded justice for Bilkis Bano and are one among several groups across the country. Silent protests taking place, demanding justice for Bilkis Bano, who was gang raped during the Gujarat riots, a 3-year-old child killed in front of her own eyes, which she also witnessed the murder of several relatives in one of the most horrific attacks that we've heard of anywhere in the world.
A silent protest is being held at Carter Road in Bandra, and demanding justice for Bilkis Bano and also questioning the remission that is being given to the 11 convicts in this entire case. Now, while a case is being held at the Supreme Court and a notice has been given to the Gujarat government, we can say that the protest is happening in several places across the country. We saw similar protests happening in Mumbai's Dadar area earlier, and now a protest is happening. In fact, a silent protest that is happening in Bandra area of Mumbai, demanding the same thing, that the justice should be given to Bilkis Bano. At the same time, they are asking questions regarding on what basis were the 11 convicts released, why were they provided a remission, and that is the reason people candle protest is happening. At the same time, while this is a silent protest, the question is still being asked, saying justice for Bilkis, and the questions that are being asked is that why were these 11 convicts released in the first place. In Mumbai, with camera person Rajin Ridyalkar, Sohit Mishra, NDTV.